Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be going over another Neville Goddard lecture. It's titled Trust in God. It has a wonderful message and one I'd like to share with you. So I'll go through, I'll paraphrase the lecture, and we'll talk about it as we go. Now in this lecture, Neville emphasizes the importance of truly understanding who God is in order to have a transformative experience. He explains that the name of God, I am, is the same as our own self-identification, and that there is no other God but this one unifying principle within us. In order to trust in God and walk in faith, we must have come to clarity on who He is. He says, so when I ask you to trust in God, I want you to know who God really is. For if you trust in Him, your world will change. He goes on to explain that the name I am is the name that God gave to Moses, and that it is the same name that each person uses to identify themselves. He says that there is only one God who is housed within each person, and that when a person says, I am, they are speaking the name of God. Now, I've gathered a few scripture verses where it says the I am is the name of God. First, Exodus 3:14, and God said unto Moses, I am that I am. And he said, thus shalt thou say unto the children of Israel, I am hath sent me unto you. Unquote. Second one is John 8:58, quote, Jesus said unto them, verily, verily, I say unto you, before Abraham was I am. Unquote. And the third, Isaiah 43:10, quote, ye are my witnesses, said the Lord, and my servant whom I have chosen, that ye may know and believe me, and understand that I am He. Before me there was no God formed, neither shall be after me. Now, before we go any further, it's important to understand that this capital I is the I which knows, the I that sees and has knowledge of its awakened self. Therefore, any concept, idea, understanding, or knowing of anything at all goes through this I consciousness. For the whole world of concepts, which are things that can be known, therefore all knowledge and wisdom are experiences through consciousness, through the capital I. All division, all separation through fragmentation unfolds within the realm of concepts, which separates all experiences into objects and things, worldly forms that which give rise to experience in which knowledge of self can be gained. Therefore, the capital I is the beginning of all concepts, all knowledge, all knowing, all wisdom, all truth. Let that grow ever more deeply within you. Okay, now further on, Neville emphasizes that the instrument that God expresses both love and hate, unity and division, is no other God than the I am. And that by taking hold of the godly power within you, you can transform everything and anything in your life. Neville stresses that since there is no other God except for the one within each person, he warns against creating false gods in the form of graven images. He says, during your lifetime, I am sure there have been those you thought greater than yourself. He says, I remember when General Eisenhower returned from a successful campaign. There was a big parade for him, and thousands of people bowed before him, giving him their glory by worshiping a false image. Now there is no other God other than who is housed within you. When you say, I am, you are speaking God's name. The God I ask you to trust, for there is no other. We are told to make no graven images unto me. If you make an image out of marble or metal in the shape of another and worship it, you have created a false God. Now, what I take from this is to be cautious how much we idolize other individuals. Are we idolizing the Pope, a teacher, a guru, a celebrity, or even someone on Instagram? Although it may not seem like worship, if we are trying to transform ourselves by modeling other fallible human individuals, and not exclusively through God, then are we not worshiping false idols? When it comes to transformation of any kind, we should only direct ourselves towards God, towards virtue, towards love, towards liberation, towards freedom of all worldly constraints. Now, one thing I love about Neville is that he leaves it up to you with what you do with the operant power within you. He says, whatever state you desire to bring forth, you must first love it for its own sake, not out of ego, not out of greed, but to simply love the state in which is created. He says, Scripture tells us to love God because He first loved us, and that we should imitate Him as a dear child. How is this done? By falling in love, whether it be our desire for wealth, fame, health, or marriage. You must fall in love with the state. He gives an example of a friend who had a neighbor who was always negative and would constantly drop by just to spread gossip and negative stories about others. Through suggestion from Neville, she rearranged her mind to have nothing but love for her neighbor. She persisted in this for a short while. The love for her neighbor grew, and then one day the neighbor came to inform her that she had given her notice to the landlord and she had to go, that something better had opened up for her in a wonderful way. She then told Neville that if I could fall as much in love with the being within me as I did with this lady, I would be completely transformed, which in turn would produce great changes in my outer world of effects, for now I know my friend's transformation took place within me. Neville then once again urges us to put your trust in God's name. Knowing what you want, believe that your assumption will make it fact. Believe that you need no one on the outside to aid you, for all things are possible to God. Assume things are as you want them to be, for an assumption persisted in will harden into fact. The way we persist, the way we transform ourselves and others is to trust God, to trust the operant power within you. Now, one thing I love about Neville is that he urges you to use your imagination, your creative power, lovingly towards others. But he says you can do this in any way you like. You can decide if you want more money, wealth, marriage, or anything else. But to fit it into your thought picture, into your assumed ideal as good for the whole and good for all of humanity. Do not feel guilty if you desire wealth and lots of options in life due to financial freedom. Find it within you to clarify that through your abundance, you are then freed and liberated from societal obligations, and therefore you can do greater acts of love in the world. If we can find these types of ideas and thought pictures, we can harness our creative imagination to bring about abundance and prosperity or anything else we desire, and have that desire in alignment with love streaming from God. Do not be concerned with the horrors of the world. Simply remember that all is ordered and correct. Instead, fall in love with the I am within you and change your world. God made it as it is now, and He can change it. For your husband is the creator. Everything in your world can be traced back to your own wonderful human imagination, who is God. Now, Neville ends the lecture saying, man is all imagination, and God is man. He exists in us, and we in Him. The eternal body of man is the imagination that is God Himself. Fall in love with the state you now desire to occupy, and to the degree in which you are self-persuaded, you will enter it. Now, once again, this lecture gave us plenty to reflect on, and I hope you find a few minutes today to do so. I'm going to be putting out many more videos exploring Neville's lectures, as well as my own messages and insights on spiritual development and transformation, so I hope you join me on those future videos. Thanks so much for watching. I'll talk to you soon.